Hey everyone, this is Mayur. I'm your host for today's podcast, and with us today we have Raghav, who's the co-founder at Depth. And here's something that the wellness industry don't say out loud, but we have never measured ourselves more or understood ourselves more. So you've got a ring which might count on your sleep, a watch which might count your steps, a doctor who would see you twice a year, but not often. None of them talks about talk to each other, and so you get a number. You never get a reason of anything related to your personal health. So my guest today, he quit his job. He also lost 25 kgs personally and went looking for a reason. And he came back with a company called Depth. And the bet that the next decade of health isn't about collecting more data. It's about finding, reading the data that we already have together continuously. So he's the two people, beta stage startup, and he's also bootstrapped a blood draw operation and hardware into a software subscription, which is either insane or exactly right. So let's find out which of this bet is Raghav actually taking. So Raghav, welcome to the network breakout. How are you?
Hi, Mayu. Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Amazing. So maybe let's start with, your brief introduction, like, how you came up with the idea and maybe like a brief about your personal journey before you actually started Depth.
Yeah, awesome. So, born and brought up in Chandigarh, it's a small city up north. It's the capital of Punjab and Haryana. So we got like both influences. Very introverted kid, was never like the most notorious in the school. I was always like the mid bencher, studious, and introverted with my glasses on. And I always, in my mind, I wanted to do something. At that time, entrepreneurship, the idea of entrepreneurship was not even something that I knew of, but I knew that the shop owner is something that I wanted to be. So at that time, the idea of entrepreneurship is just to be a shop owner. So since then, I wanted to be a shop owner, and now that definition has changed to become an entrepreneur. And I never went to college really. So like as soon as I turned 18, COVID hit, and then it was I really wanted to have a good college life and a good hostel life. I wanted to live on a campus, but that couldn't happen because it was COVID. All of us were locked down inside our homes. So I started picking up some skills. So I learned graphic design, I learned video editing, and started freelancing a bit for that. And then that landed me a job at a startup. And that's when I got introduced to what a startup is, how an app works, and how to put it on App Store and like go raise money and grow to hundreds of thousands of users. So that was like a introduction for me to this world. And since then, I have been in love with building a startup. And since it was an early stage startup, I got to wear multiple hats. So not only just design, I also did growth and marketing for that startup. And I worked there for some time, moved to another one, and that startup actually got me to Bangalore. So when I was 19, I moved to Bangalore, and Bangalore was basically my college life. Yeah, this is where everything happened for me. So my first drink, my first love, everything happened in this city. And I would say that Bangalore is my college, and this is where I grew up. And I've been here for the last 4 years. And I've worked as a product designer for multiple early stage startups, uh, and like at my last company was Ola, which was like where I worked for like consumer products built for like millions of users. And I quit that job in November, and since the past 6 months, I've been traveling around Southeast Asia, and I just wanted to explore and see like what is happening on the what's happening outside the country. And I learned about the fitness culture. I created content, and uh, then I saw that like there's a big fitness culture outside India, and even in India, it's growing a lot now. So I saw the opportunity. I ended up meeting my co-founder in my travels, and I discussed this idea with him, and then we started working together. So yeah, that's how we got started.
Awesome. No, that's a really interesting, backstory. So basically, everything that you have learned so far, can we say that, is it something that you self-taught yourself, or did you also like, had any professional, courses or like, much more that traditional route?
It was mostly self-taught because the college degree that I had was English honors, which is not related to what I'm doing right now. So I never enrolled myself into like a college or a university for this. Yeah, and I think
Awesome.
entrepreneurship can be taught in any way. So
Exactly. Awesome. So maybe let's, dive a little bit further into depth. So, I'm going to, start throwing you some questions and, you can pretty much um, answer that from like a startup perspective and, with an entrepreneur lens. So someone who has, an Aura ring already, someone who also has a doctor and also like a maybe fitness trainer. So what's the, single decision that depth changed? For a real beta user that none of these three, could have told them to make.
So first is that we are not replacing the doctors. We are not giving any medical advice. But what we are trying to do is we are trying to synthesize the information which is sitting in different silos, and we are trying to make it talk to each other. So I feel that everyone who is wearing an Apple Watch has a lot of data on them, but they don't understand what to do with it. Then they get a blood report once in 3 months or 6 months, and that just sits in a PDF somewhere on their WhatsApp, which they probably send to the doctor or ask ChatGPT about what's wrong. So, and if you wear a glucose monitor, then that's a separate story. So it's like there are 5 apps for 5 different things. You track your workouts on this app called Heavy. Then some people track their runs on Strava. So we're just trying to bring all of them together so that there's one place for your whole body, and you can look at it in one place and see that okay, this is what's happening. This is what I should eat. This is how I should work out. This is how is my recovery. So that's what we are trying to solve. And we're helping people achieve their goals. So if you have a marathon coming up or if you have a high rocks race coming up, we create a module for you and we adjust it according to your daily health stats and then help you achieve those goals.
Awesome. And from your Instagram page, it seems that you are great at storytelling, and it's been also really cool that you have been also sharing a lot of personal insights. I would also like to touch base on your story where you personally lost 25 kgs with with the tools that already exist, right? So how would you say that if you can pull that off without depth, then who actually needs it right now, and what specific what specifically failed you in and in that cut? Now that's a maybe failure, right?
I think if I had depth 2 years ago with me, I would have, it would be much easier for my journey and I would have done it in like much lesser time. Because when I was doing it myself, the stuff was very offline and scattered. So I used to track my weight every morning and then I used to write it on a piece of paper or probably send my trainer. Then I used to send the pictures of the food that I was eating to my trainer, or I was asking ChatGPT, okay, how many calories are in this? So there were like different ways, different places where I was putting in my information, and it was not talking back to me, or it was not getting synthesized. So food tracking was different, weight tracking was different. Then I used to measure my body, which used to sit on another piece of paper. So it was like a complete mess, to be honest. And if I had depth, then it would be just one app to see everything together, where I could see my progress, where I could see the weight, food, exercise. So I feel that if anyone's trying to get into fitness, we really help. We are just really help making it easier for them to get into it and make progress.
Awesome. So you mentioned that before actually starting depth, you traveled across the world and found out that okay, like fitness is not just a hobby anymore, but it's also like an industry, right? So could you also tell us like between quitting your day job and commuting to full time to depth, let's say, what did you actually validate in terms of signal? Did you see some patterns, or did you decide to like start this first and validate for the proof later? So what was that specific sort of framework around validating the idea?
Yeah. There's so many signals that are there in India itself, not even just outside India, I would say. Protein is one of the highest search keyword in India right now. Okay. Which is a great signal that people are getting into fitness. Then if you open Blinkit or Swiggy Instamart, there are so many protein options. I was just talking to a friend yesterday about this, that there is no excuse to be unfit anymore because there is Diet Coke, there is protein milk, there's protein chips, there's protein bread. So it's like whatever you can think of, whatever food category you can think of, we have added protein in that. And I feel that it's way easier today to get fitter because there are so many new technologies that have come. There's monk fruit sweeteners, which is 0 calorie, but still as good as a normal sugar, right? As sweet as a normal sugar. So you can curb your cravings by having 0 calorie foods. And that is actually like a boon for the industry where it's getting easier for everyone to get fit. So protein as a keyword was a big signal in the market. And second is there are a lot of variables which are launching in the market. So we saw earlier we had Apple Watch, then Whoop came in, then there was Aura and Garmin, and then it was like after a point these were the four main players. Now in the last 6 months, I guess Google Fitbit has launched. Then Helios brand is also coming up with a new version, Amazfit Helios, and then there's Luna Ring as well. So there's so many new players coming up, and I feel that like it's gonna increase only every few weeks. So we'll see like new variables. We'll see like 20 variables in the market in the next 1 year. I feel so everyone will be wearing a different sort of a tracker. And that is another signal for us because since we are bringing all these trackers together and we are not building our own tracker, so for us it's another good signal that we will be that app where people come see all this data in a cohesive way. So yeah, protein, then variables, then increase in the gym culture. Of course, we see every High Rocks, like 18,000 people registered for the Mumbai High Rocks within the first 24 hours, right? And I couldn't get the tickets. I wanted to participate.
Yeah,
So
and they also like I think made a lot of money from the like very first marathon, right?
yeah, exactly. So I feel that in general, people, it's the new status symbol. Just like uh, partying was a status symbol 5 years ago, where everyone used to show off their champagne bottles and everyone used to show off, like on their Instagram stories, they used to show off that they're having shots or they have a very expensive alcohol bottle on the table and they book the table in a club or something like that. Now, their high rock stats. Now the high rocks timing is the new status symbol. The marathon 5K timing is the best, is the new status symbol. Your body is the new status symbol, I feel. And
Exactly.
I feel I'm very happy about that trend because it's something, it's for the good. And even
Of
if
course.
some people are doing it for just for the sake of it and just to show off, I feel it's still better because they're improving their body in the motivation to show off. So I think it's still fine.
Correct. Yeah. At the end of the day, they are, still putting all of those efforts just to, get fit and, get better for their, personal, health for sure. So
Right.
let's say, you have you guys are two-person team, one company. So who's actually owning what? And what's, the line between your call and, your co-founder's call? Because when it comes to like, a lot of startups, some people might not have like a co-founder, but since you guys, already are a co-founder, so what's, that environment looking like for you as a, sort of team?
Yeah, I'm glad that I have a co-founder actually because even before Depth, I had like multiple startup ideas that I started working on. But somewhere down the line, the motivation goes down if you are alone because there's no one to push you, there's no one to bring you up because it's a roller coaster ride. And some days you're feeling so low that you're like, oh shit, maybe I should go back to my job. And some days you're like, oh shit, I own the whole world. So it's a complete roller coaster because you might talk to someone who just demotivate you and say, "Ki, this will not work." And then next day you talk to someone and they're like, "Oh, this is so cool. This will definitely work." So it's
Yeah.
definitely a roller coaster, and having a co-founder definitely helps because when he's feeling low, I motivate him. When I'm feeling low, he motivates me. And in terms of the distribution of work, he is the CTO, so he takes care of all the tech part, even the product, the first version of product he's working on. So I feel that like I'm very glad that I found someone with great technical ability who can like ship things fast. And I'm on the creative side where I take care of the design and growth, fundraising. So anything apart which does not involve coding is my thing.
Amazing.
Uh, yeah, and I'm having fun doing it. I'm the loudspeaker of the company where I have to I meet everyone, say, tell about my company, sign, like get more people on the wait list, make them try the test flight, and just like blow as many whistles as possible. So
For
that's my
sure,
job:
for sure.
growth, design, and fundraising.
Got it. Makes sense. So would you say that anyone who's building solo should, having a co-founder would make things, different, especially like, in a fast-growing startup environment, or,
Sure, I mean, having a co-founder definitely helps, and if you find someone who you can work with, then for sure you should go with it.
awesome.
Because nothing great
Okay.
comes alone. Nothing great, is built alone. I feel so. You got to take more people with you to build something truly great.
Absolutely. So let's say, if a clinician would optimize for accuracy when it comes to anything related to your health, right? But you are a product designer. So how do you optimize for, someone who's actually changing the behavior, or where have you deliberately traded, clinical precision for action? So what's that risk also in that bet?
Yeah, since we are moving so fast, we already have the app ready in the first 1 month of launching the company. There are a lot of places where I have to ignore the precision and the idea to be perfect. Because being a designer, you always want pixel perfect things. You always want that this font size should be perfect, this color should be perfect. But I have to ignore most of these things. And my designer friends sometimes criticize the work that, bro, what is this app? You should improve this or something like that. But I know that this app is not just made for designers, it's made for everyone. So that is first. And second is that if since we are moving so fast, we'll have to ignore these things because if I keep aiming for perfection, we lose the battle. And I feel for us, the only moat that we have right now is that we are a small team. We can move very fast, and like we can out execute every big player in the market.
Absolutely. I think that's what keeps you sustainable in the long term as a startup if you move fast and break things as quickly as possible. So let's say you are a two people team and everything is bootstrapped. So you have put pan India home phlebotomy and CGM hardware inside the subscription. So that's like a logistic company bolted to a software company. So
Hmm.
why, own that instead of partnering up with them? Do you think is it too early to have that conversation? And what breaks if if the first if it works, right?
Yeah, yeah. We are actually partnering with Orange Labs to get the blood report thing. And for the CGM also, we'll be white labeling it. We definitely want to keep the logistics and the overheads as low as possible because that will keep our operation cost low, and it will help to focus on the main product. We have these physical things because I feel that in India, people are still scared to pay for SaaS. Everyone would think 10 times before buying an app subscription. That too when it's coming at a big cost. So I feel that there needs to be physical elements to the subscription as well, where people feel that okay, actually this is valuable. So that is also another reason, and it will help us to capture the bigger market. I feel.
Amazing. And I've also personally signed up for the waitlist, for the beta testing. So when you were sort of, designing that user journey, let's say, to onboard your first 1,000 users, so you decided to kept that, access free for, for the early users, right?
Yeah.
And a number spot for, live. So walk me through like, that real logic, especially for the distribution. So is the free beta there to build the data mod, or is it to, convert, into customer later? So can you also like walk us through that?
So we'll have a subscription eventually for everyone. Right now, we just wanted the people to experience the product, and for us also, we are trying to hit the PNFs and trying to see what is the positioning of the product that we want. So I feel that it's very important to for the users to test the product, give us feedback. We're getting feedback every day. We're getting new feature requests every day. So it's very important to nurture the product right now. And in a few months, once we have like we are confident that okay, this is something that we're gonna go to the market with, then we'll launch the subscription as well.
So if you also take a little bit, one step further, so every wearable that you mentioned, like Whoop or Apple Watch, everyone each own, a slice of this sort of puzzle. So, and your bet is actually value in reading all of those data together, right? So where does that, become a moat that, any funded incumbent cannot copy, in a quarter because they have like more resources than you guys, and
Yeah,
you're still into like, that
correct.
exploration discovery phase.
Yeah.
So walk us through that maybe.
Sure. So I feel that since we are not building our own hardware, so we don't have any bias, and our insight will be completely unbiased and completely unmotivated for anything. We are not optimizing for anything. So like our motive is that we are completely democratic in terms of, giving user the real insights they want. And we are not just attracting one type of user, right? If there is a Whoop, right? Whoop has to sell the band first and then the subscription, right? But our customer can be someone who's also wearing like a 1,000 rupee wearable as well, right? So we are serving every customer equal, and we don't have any requirement that you need to buy our hardware to use the app. So that is one thing that we are very democratic in terms of and unbiased in terms of our insights that we give to the users. And the second is that since we don't have our own hardware, we can help integrate every hardware into the app, right? For example, I'm wearing Apple Watch and Whoop together. So what that means is that for depth, I can integrate these two together. But a VU band will never allow you to integrate a Garmin with them or integrate an Aura ring with them because they both are competitors, right? For us, we don't see any of these companies as a competitors. We see them as allies because we are using their data to bring more insights to the users. So, and for us, like we are just not giving the data from this particular hardware. We are bringing everything together, like not just hardware, but your blood reports, your CGM, your food tracking, your exercise tracking, right? And eventually making a module and training plan for you, which I feel no one is doing. So these are the modes that we have.
Amazing. So, talking about all of those data and on top of that also your, blood reports. So technically speaking, so how hard was it to, get everything right in the first place? Do you think that that was, very challenging, at least from the technical point of view, and then also, making it more user friendly, and integrate that element into, the whole um, UI and UX so that the end user can understand that fully.
Yeah, so like we're still, figuring out the new redesign of the app because we want to show all these pieces together. Right now in other apps also there are different tabs for each of these things and they don't talk to each other. And what we want to reinvent is that how do we show all this information together as it's related to each other, right? So that's what we are still shaping up in terms of our UI for the home screen. We are figuring out okay, which score to show. Like for example, Whoop shows you recovery, sleep, and strain, right? So we are figuring out, okay, we are talking to users and understanding that for them, what's the most important score, then what is something which they don't look at as much. So
Awesome.
yeah, like it's still getting shaped therefore.
Okay. So I think we talked a lot about what um you know whom depth is for, only folks who can at least like have a little bit of understanding of maybe like the basic blood work and the basic biomarkers maybe.
Depth is for anyone who is wearing a wearable or a tracker, anyone who has participated in some sort of a paid sporting event. So, like, that's the target audience for us. And anyone who is like interested to know more about their health. It's we are not expecting anyone to know or like have knowledge about it as much because we explain everything like a 5 year old to our users. So what is HbA1c, what is cholesterol, what is triglyceride, right? So we have like infos for every particular biomarker for the user to understand it. And yeah, so like anyone who is interested to know more about the health is our user base to be here. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. So right now, if we combine the product stack, then Depth can summarize data of your biomarkers. It can also help you book your blood draw. But where's that line where the AI element stops being smart dashboard and it starts owning the protocol? Let's say, where do you see like what's that user number and what's that sort of milestone where you guys would be ready, like, hey, okay, this is something which can be, optimized easily without much of the human intervention here from this point?
I think we'll find that out. Right now, also, it's quite automated in a way that if you are uploading your blood report, then our models are, making sense of it and giving you the insights and the snapshot. So I think we are doing much human intervention, but of course, for checks, we'll have doctors on board who will make sure that the information that we are giving is correct because it is very crucial for the people. So yeah, but I don't know when we'll reach it, but it's still like in works.
India as a market, where where you first thing that you have to think about is your cost advantage,
Mhm.
especially like when you are early stage. So how would you, what sort of reasoning are you guys currently thinking right now in order to like justify the cost and something that makes you think that okay, like this is the number that would people will not hesitate to pay us, and this is the value that they are trying to get out of, right?
Yeah, so I feel we haven't thought of the subscription amount yet, but in India, we are very price sensitive, and we feel that if you are providing value to the user, more than what you are asking, then people will pay for it. So, for example, if our subscription is for 12,000 rupees a year, and we give them the value for 24,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees, then they will definitely buy us. So that I feel if you're able to provide that much value to the user, then it's a cakewalk to get Indian users for us, definitely.
And just to double down on that line, so, what do you personally think that any other longevity startup or any other longevity company or even a wearable company is trying to sell users, which is not really something that will move the needle for them, like to help them achieve their personal fitness goals, but which is also something that you guys have kept while building that?
Uh, like for me personally, I feel that I don't do all these things to live longer. I do it to feel better in my day-to-day life. So I'm eating clean food because I feel light and I feel lean, right? Then I am exercising every day because I feel strong the next day. So I feel people should practice these longevity tricks and longevity exercises and the routines to feel better in the now, so that like even the 24 hours that we're living today, they should feel good, and you should maximize your productivity in those 24 hours. So I'm like a big supporter for that for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And someone who's also like, passionately active and, exploring things in the personal fitness industry and, maybe your own personal fitness journey, right? So can you tell us like, is there, is the whole trick more psychological when a person defines a, fitness goal and then they try to achieve? Is it like more psychological, or do you think that that element also requires, one person to focus on the actual data, not just like the motivation and like, all the other psychological elements?
hmm I think it's a mix of both. Like you can only change things when you track them, when you manage them. You can only manage things when you track them, right? So if you are seeing the needle move, then you will feel motivated and you will work more towards it. If you are seeing that your weight is increasing every day, then you're like, okay, something is wrong. I need to change a few things in my day. So you definitely need to track your body, and tracking will lead to change, I feel.
Let's say if someone comes to you who is not really hitting the gym, or they haven't even thought about that, like doing their blood work in the last, 1 year. So how would you try to, convince them that they should be start using depth like from the, from as soon as possible?
Yeah, for sure. Uh, could you give me like a user persona, like their age, their gender? Then I'll try to be more personalized with the motivation.
Uh, yeah, probably any, let's say, random Gen Z who's like a male and who's into also like tech industry, but they are not much into the like longevity space or um, maybe into health and fitness in general.
Yeah. So let's say 25-year-old working in Bangalore, male. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, I feel that I'll not tell them what to do. I'll tell them why to do it. Okay. And the why is that your life will change 100x if you start going to the gym and start taking care of your health. And it will change in all aspects. So if you just fix your health, if you become fitter, it will improve your work, it will improve your focus. You will feel way more confident. You will finally feel confident enough to go ask out that role. You will then your relationship with your family will improve. So all aspects of life, right? So if you fix fitness, your family, your work, your relationship, all of them automatically improve. It's a trickle down effect, and you will feel positive. You will feel more ambitious. Your testosterone will increase, which will make you more ambitious. So I feel that everyone should go to the gym. Everyone should optimize their health. Everyone should try to get a six pack, because it's a I feel it's going to be regretful if you don't see what your actual potential is, because everyone can get a six pack in today's age. Now it's like even I'm working towards it. I'm not there yet, but I feel that if you reach like the topmost potential of your body, then you feel that you're unstoppable. Then you feel that you can achieve anything in the world, because there's a fact that getting a six pack is rarer than becoming a millionaire.
Right.
So there are more millionaires in the world than people with a six pack. So I feel that it takes the equal amount of effort, dedication, hard work to get a six pack as it does to become a millionaire. Right. So I feel
Yeah.
that if you're able to get a six pack, then you can use those same things, dedication, hard work, motivation, and bring that into your work, bring that into your life, and fix that part of your life as well. So I feel that everyone should by default go to the gym. And gymming, I feel, is inevitable. Strength training is inevitable. I understand there are other sports. There are like you can do yoga, Pilates, all that is good. But I feel that strength training is inevitable because we need muscle for longevity. You might not feel it now, but when you are 50 years old and you're not able to pick up things, or you're not able to, pick up like a suitcase, that's because you did not build muscle, right?
Correct.
So I feel that building muscle, strength training is inevitable. Everyone has to do it. If you don't do it now, it will get more difficult as you age. So it's better to do
Exactly.
it as early as possible. Yeah.
So, and on top
Hopefully,
of that,
yeah,
yeah, on top of that, what you get, as a sort of, let's say, cognitive effects, it's also like, something to what think about, right? Because if you are into like, really that green zone when it comes to your fitness, then you'll also like have this ability to think more clearly, have less
yeah,
stress. And I guess stress is the most chronical factor which leads to any other sort of like disease, or even like
yeah.
your metacognitive abilities and your thinking patterns and everything, right? So yeah, for sure, I can definitely agree with that. So, all right, Raghav, so we, talked a lot about your business. So, and you are also like a, founder yourself. So I want you to, give some piece of advice, or, if not advice, then some practical frameworks for other emerging founders. So let me ask you this question. You are a designer yourself. We can also call it that you are an operator because you build everything yourself. You validated the idea, you then started execution, and that's what most people might not able to figure out early on. So you did exactly that into the health industry. So what's the actual sequence in the whole process? Let's say someone who's a solo founder and someone who's into a designing space. So what's something that they should be validating first, and what should be something they should be ignoring, and what to build before actually writing the first line of code.
Hmm. Okay. So I feel that just look around yourself and see what are the problems that people face. Right? What are the problems that you face in your life, and find a solution for it. So if you're facing a problem, say in your daily commute, okay, then ask 50 people around you that if they are facing the same problem. If yes, then you should start building the solution for it. Then take that solution to your 50 people who you asked. Then ask them if they will use it, and if they like, if most of them say yes, then start working on it properly, and then just go for it. So I
Awesome.
feel that, yeah, just find the problem that you particularly face or your friends face, and then ask people if they would buy it, and then we start working on it.
I think that's how the most even successful startups, usually get started. They first try to solve their own problem, and then eventually they figure out that, okay, like I'm not the only person who's facing this problem, but there's, tons of other people out there who might also benefit for the same, right? Maybe, let's also try to define like if any founder who's choosing, willingly to bootstrap something. So how should they optimize for efficiency when it, basically like how they should be thinking about growth, especially in the early stage. So what are some, things that they should, keep in mind while basically bootstrapping something into tech?
I feel, for example, like I'm also doing this right now, right? I'm bootstrapping the company, so I have to take care of my personal expenses and the company expenses as well. So make sure that you have runway for at least a year, or minimum 6 months, I would say, for your personal expenses, and then have some money saved up for the company that you might end up spending. So for us also, we'll be spending some money on marketing right now. We'll be doing some marketing efforts, like we are doing an offline event as well in Bangalore soon, so all that will cost money, and this is coming from our pocket directly. So I feel that just make sure you have enough money saved up before building a startup, because then you'll feel less anxious while building it. For me also, like right now, for the next 6 months, I'm stress free. I don't have to think about earning anything. Right. So I've worked in the last 5 years to save this money so that I can, like I can do something with autonomy, and I'm not selling my time to someone to make a livelihood.
For sure. And could you tell us like how much have you guys invested so far into building depth and probably for the next 6 months of your roadmap?
Mhm. So we haven't like spent much, to be honest, because tech cost is very minimal. So there's hardly like few subscriptions here and there for the tech and the database. Now we'll start spending on the offline events and the marketing. So we have like both of us have taken out like 5 lakhs each. And that we are ready to spend in the next 6 months on whatever it takes. So we're doing some activation in Hyrox, Delhi. So if someone's watching who is doing Hyrox Delhi, we are sponsoring athletes. So you can reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter at the rate life of Raghav, and then we can figure out a sponsorship for you. So we are doing the things like this, and we both of us have taken out 5 lakhs each to spend it and get our first few users.
So this also tells us a little bit of insight that if anyone wants to, potentially start something, then they might not require as much as money as they think they would. But of course, depending on what sort of product or service they are building. So this
Yeah.
also tells us about something like you mentioned about the runway money that they should optimize for efficiency, where they don't want to see themselves stuck with something like at least their own decision to make something while at the end of the day they just find out that okay, like this is not going to work because just because of the money, right?
Mm.
So really
Yeah.
interesting. So Raghav, I think we have covered pretty much almost anything, but I still want to close this episode with a few rapid fire questions. You can answer them as quickly as you can. So what's one biomarker that you think that everyone should track and almost nobody does?
It's not a biomarker as per, but VO2 max is something that I want to test.
Awesome. And why is that?
It is basically like one of the things which tell you how long you can live in your life. And VO2 max is just the amount of oxygen that you can store in your body, in your lungs, right? So that basically tells you that, okay, how long you can run, how long you can, have your endurance for. So before gassing out completely, before gassing out all the oxygen out of your lungs. So I feel it's very important for you to check it and have a healthy VO2 max score.
Amazing. And what's that one longevity claim that you are almost tired of hearing out on the internet?
Not really. Even I am experimenting with most of these things, so like I don't know yet.
Awesome. Okay, so I think you already told us that you are currently wearing a Whoop and also an Apple Watch. So
Yeah.
for someone who's just getting started with the variables, what's that one thing that everyone should start optimizing for? Is it like a fitness ring? Do you think they should go for Whoop or a smartwatch?
Yeah. So smart Apple Watch is like way more than just a fitness tracker. It's good for a beginner. Like even my first wearable was an Apple Watch, because you can also take your calls, you can messages, and there are a lot of functionality to it. So if you want like an addition to your phone with some distraction, then Apple Watch is good. But if you don't want any distraction on your wrist, then Whoop. I think Whoop in general is the most accurate wearable out there. Their like sample sizes are like every 30 seconds or 1 minute. So they scan your heart rate like every minute or every 30 seconds. So I feel it is the most accurate in the industry. And like if you want real accuracy, then Whoop is the best.
What's the first number that you check every morning, the first thing you wake up, not for your body, but for your company while you are building depth?
Okay. For the company, I see how many people are on the wait list now, how many people have messaged for the test ride feedback. So that's what I check. So I really try not to open my phone first thing in the morning. But it's
Yeah,
this for the past few days I've been breaking that rule and checking my WhatsApp. Yeah.
amazing. Okay, so let's say 3 years out, what has to be true for you to say that depth will actually win, or has it already won? So even if the longevity hype cycle is over and probably has moved out of the cycle, so what would it take take for you guys to succeed?
Yeah. I don't think this is just a trend. It's a growing market and it's not going to fade away. There are few small micro trends that might fade away. But fitness is an industry which is here to stay and it will grow as much as possible at a like, compounding rate. For depth, I feel we are just trying to be the only app people use for their health. So if you're able to achieve that, then our LTV is forever, right? Because uh, if you're used to tracking your body numbers and your like health stats, then you will never delete the app because that's a part of your routine. That's like working out or that's like checking your body weight. So I feel that once we have a user for the first 3 months, then we'll have them forever in a way.
I think we are almost at the close of our episode, but in each of our episode, we usually close episode with a pattern that we usually think about. So, can you also tell us, like, if you have recently changed any working principle in the last 90 days that you probably would also like try to stick longer? What would that be?
Working principle that I have changed. Ship faster. Since I was working at big companies before, so it was always at perfection. Now it's like just ship and break things fast and ship it and then learn and then come again. So that is something that we're doing.
Well, I think that's all that I wanted to discuss today, Rako. But thanks for taking the time out, and for everyone who's watching this episode or listening to any of our social media, feel free to check out Depth. I'll also include a link of Depth in our YouTube description. So feel free to reach out to Raghav personally, and I would also like encourage everyone who's into fitness and even if who are not into like fitness very much, but still like go and check out Depth and sign up for their beta testing. But thanks Raghav, thanks for doing this, and that's we usually strive to achieve on each of this episode where any emerging founders or someone who's willing to like start something, build something, they can extract some practical frameworks and integrate into their operating journey. But yeah, thanks so much for doing this, Rako. Will definitely was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mayur. It was a pleasure talking to you, and very grateful for to be here.
Awesome. Thanks again.
So, thank you. Bye.